So 1e4, why not? e5. So knight g5, I guess. I'll try to play this way, sacrificing a pawn. He's doing, but he obviously gets decent compensation for it. Yeah, this one is not really supposed to work for black, but I cannot really remember how or why. And my opponent is playing quite quickly and confidently, which is mildly unnerving. 94, I guess. I'll try. So the point of my play is whenever he moves the knight from e6, I'm going to capture the pawn b5, and from d4, for instance, to e6, I'm going to capture the pawn on b5, and probably be pretty happy. So I think what black is supposed to do is queen h4. Yeah, this is quite obscure theory, obviously. So 96 is quite reasonable, but at the very least I can capture a pawn now. And maybe go queen a4, trying to force an exchange of queens. Although he does have knight f4, potentially sitting on d3. So I guess I should just take and castle. But I think he does have a bit of compensation here. Yeah, bishop e7, very reasonable developing move. I think I should go d4. This is probably gonna end up giving the pawn back, but I thought that whenever I go d3, f5 is gonna come, and I'm hoping that this way I'm gonna end up with a slightly better pawn structure, even though I feel that my extra pawn is not gonna last very long. So knight f4, I'm pretty happy to see. I feel like exchanging that bishop on c1 that wasn't doing much in one go is quite favorable to me, and now I can also win some time chasing the knight. So I can go g3. Yeah, I think g3 is pretty reasonable. Knight f3, king g2. I was thinking about f5, but I think knight c5 is a pretty good reply there, forcing him to take, and then I take. In order to save his knight on h3, he has to exchange queens. Also after knight h3, king g2, f5. I can just take the knight on f3, and if he takes an e4, we check, I go queen g4, and it should be pretty safe. But I do feel as though f5, knight c5 is the easier option there. And yeah, that's what's happened on the board. So I think now he's forced to, as I said earlier, take, and then take again on d1, and then this particular ending I feel should be very, very good for me with the extra pawn, and also I think better coordinated pieces. So my opponent certainly has played very inventively so far, not bad at all, but I feel like the game is definitely going in my favor at this moment. Yeah, I'll take back. Probably rook d7 is not bad. Rook f7, I go rook fd1. Maybe I should just go rook d1. That was actually my first thought. So rook b8, don't really see much of a point there. I just go b3, and I feel like the last move has improved my position more than it has improved his. I guess some point to that would, having rook on b8 would be that after I push c6 at some point he could go rook b6, try and win the pawn, but that would run into forks with knight d5 as well. So I'm not taking the pawn quite yet. I feel like that pawn on a7 cannot be saved anyway, so that's why I'm deferring the capture. Also, for rook f7, I can consider going rook d6. That was my plan, threatening both taking on c6 and f4, h4, forcing knight e4, giving up another pawn. But now that we're here, I see that actually that doesn't really work because he has rook c7 defending against both threats, meaning that he can go knight f7 after I go h4 or f4. Okay, I'm just going to go rook c7 now, getting that pawn on c6. So he did save the a pawn. I could have gone for rook a7 going after the a pawn, but I rather wanted to go after the c pawn, seeing as that my own c pawn is closer to the queen square. He should go something like rook d8 here, followed by rook d2, trying for some desperate last ditch counterplay, but I really don't think it's going to work out. But my opponent has definitely played a good game so far. Yeah, having said that, he does resign now, which I feel is premature even against a much stronger opponent you should fight on, but not a bad game at all. Okay, let me see if I can find a 3-minute game against a pretty high-rated player from the Czech Republic. I don't know who that is. I'm gonna stick with e4, e5, bishop c4, knight f6 again. Okay, let me try the same thing. Taking, this time I'm gonna give a check, and bishop e2. Knight h3. So this, I think, is what Steinitz, for instance, tried a few times against Trigorin. And what I wanted by playing 3 bishop c4 is, yeah, I'm not going to reveal that quite yet, but I had a different idea in mind after, in case he would have gone for, one of my opponents would have gone for I guess I should go knight g1, but it's not taking on h3. One of my opponents would have gone for 3 bishop c5 and tried to play d10. Yeah, my opponent has played pretty sensibly here. I've spent a lot of time regrouping the knights. The reason after h6 on move 8 that I didn't go knight f3 is that you can then gain time with e4. And I felt that with whenever I lost my train of thought. Let me just play then. No, so basically, I think he had good compensation since I'd spent so much time routing my pieces, but rook b8 was certainly a bit too slow there. He wanted to prevent my bishop from developing to e3 by attacking the b2 pawn in that case, but I think this particular idea that I had with knight e2, exchanging some pieces, thereby relieving the pressure, I think that idea is just too strong, so that now I'm going to end up having a pretty significant extra pawn. I could go knight e4 here, intending queen d5 followed by knight f6. I guess I'd rather just take on d5, go knight f3, and if queen queen h5, the most logical response, then I can go queen d7, attacking two pieces at once. And here he does have a tiny bit of compensation in that my bishop has not developed yet, but I do have the better pawn structure as well as an extra pawn, so I feel that his activity is probably going to be fairly temporary. Rook d3, that's little more than a cheap trick. He wanted to take on c3 there. Actually, I could have allowed that since I would have had a nice trick with bishop f4, but didn't particularly fancy that. So here I'm just going rook c1. Guess I'll just trade on b6, bring the king over, and my extra pawn should eventually be enough. Now I'm taking knight d2 or rook d1. Yeah, now that it goes rook a6, I can go knight d2, I think. Knight d5 does not defend the pawn, but now that it's taken on a2, I will extinguish all that is left of his activity, and I'm just a pawn up with a better position. Let me just go b5. If there trades the knight, then yeah, bring the king around. He's playing very, very quickly, but that's not going to help him at all since the position is an easy technical win. Okay, let me go king b4, king a5, rook c1. He fights well, but it's completely impossible since the pawn is just running. Okay, good game, but it turned out to be a pretty routine conversion of an extra pawn after a while there. Okay, let me try another 3-minute game. This time from an IM. Oh, I actually played this one before. Goldstein, French IM. It's gonna be interesting. So he's repeating what I was doing with bishop c4. Let's there's gonna be a theme match, huh? Okay, let me see if I can try b5 and if I can do better here than my opponents did there. Not sure though. But no more of the rat and such. So it just takes. I feel like this is supposed to be okay for black. Slightly unnerving, of course, that he's playing so quickly. So what do I have here? Knight f4? Doesn't look too bad. Queen f3, there is... Oh, we can go bishop c6. That's a miss. I was thinking of queen f3 and then I have e4. That was my big point. But yeah, I think he's missed knight h3 and then queen b5. He's gonna attack two of his pieces. Yeah, or it attacks f1 as well as yeah. Okay, so still not. It's still not clear at all. I'm finding out. Since he now is threatening the rook on a8. If bishop b7, there's queen h4 check. Picking up the knight on h3. So what should I do? Rook b8. Queen b7 is a move. Yeah, let me just go rook b8. Cannot be too bad. So the immediate GH doesn't work because of bishop b7 skewering the queen, and but yeah, knight c3 is perfectly possible. Now I don't have a way to keep the knight, so I could just go like queen f5, exchange queens, and then I'm probably not doing too badly, but I don't want to do that, so I'm just going queen d7. If he takes the knight, I'm going rook b4, threatening bishop b7, and I'm hoping to have decent compensation there. I'm a couple of pawns down, my king is in the center, but I do have the two bishops. So I feel like objectively this cannot be too disastrous for me. And also practically speaking, I feel that I'm doing pretty well. If queen a8, pinning the bishop, then I think I'm going bishop d6, threatening queen h3, which would be very, very unpleasant for him. Yeah, king g1, but I do feel as though that is a bit slow. Now that he goes queen f3, I think I can take an h3. Yeah, I think I can do that. There's bishop h5, sorry, bishop g5, but I think I can go bishop e7. That's what I was relying on. f6, bishop f6, take it. I probably don't have a good square for, yeah, okay. He's playing really well. It's very unclear at this point. Should go back to d8. I feel like the king is a bit more active there than it is in f8. He does have to exchange queens now, and this means that I am doing pretty fine. Although I'd sort of underestimated knight b5. Now we can take an a7, king d8, threatening rook. Okay, let's go f6. Yeah, I didn't see that he was threatening rook e7. This is all going south at the moment for me. Okay, now I'm gonna have to play fast and potentially flag him in order to win the game. But I can do that. Bishop h3. Rook a2 back. Yeah, I'm not gonna accept a draw, of course. We're not in the charity business here. I've gained a couple of pawns back and should be winning the ending. Rook h4 is going to win another pawn next. And that's going to be the end of the game, provided I don't flag. Which I shouldn't do, since I have a lot more time than he has. Oh, don't stalemate him. And let's mate next. Okay.